everybody, Jen here. Just gonna take a couple minutes, see if anybody pops on. I know it's a little spur of the moment, but just figured I'd have a moment in between my older brother getting here and us having to sort out some things, and my grandpa being able to take care of my grandpa. So I've got a couple minutes in between. I'm gonna come on here to explain what basically has been happening to me in the last 2 to 3 weeks. First of all, what I have learned from that, and how that those lessons, I can go back about 5 years now, and see the correlations of what I've done, and how I've lived life, and how it correlates to my gifts, and how I interact with the world, not being as aware of my gifts as I am right now. So it's more or less a walkthrough of the beginnings of trying to learn and understand what your gifts are, if you have any gifts, trying to be like, traverse this world without having like a mentor or somebody there, like, as in like the old tribes back in the indigenous people time and things, they used to have like a shaman that would help the spiritual person that's having all these gifts develop, go through them. Like, they'd go on like a journey and they'd have the shaman like tutor them, like, and be like, okay, well, if you're having this issue, go inside and, you know, work with it, you got this, instead of being just like in modern day being like thrown in and being like, well, you're just gonna have to deal, you know, because a lot of us who are in modern society, you know, these kinds of things are frowned upon. So trying to be outwardly aware of it and stuff, it's getting a little bit better. I mean, with the whole TV show and the whole day about Teresa Caputo and her Long Island medium thing, John Edwards, you got James Van Prague, you got like Louise Hay, who started out like that. All that kind of stuff is kind of becoming more mainstream. Then you've got the the modern day the medical medium guy, and he talks about how you can heal yourself with your mind and what you put in your body and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of all like new age, but it's not new age. Also the Kyle Gray, a lot of these people I'm mentioning are through Hay House Publishing, because I follow a lot of Hay House, but there's a bunch of other people. Cassandra Butler I also follow. She's a native necessarily of around Buffalo, New York, here where I live. And she's also part of the people of Lilydale and things like that. Like Lilydale, the first spiritualist, well, temple or society here, but there's also ones that I found out from my friend Pam that's actually a spiritualist center out in or in a different place. I think it was California, but I'm not sure. Pam would have to check with me on that one. I forgot what she mentioned before. But all these different things. And then also the idea of learning Eastern and Western and trying to blend those cultures and histories together and make like a melting pot of everything that's going on. So anyways, it's not telling me who's on and who's not on, and it's just, I'm not used to doing this. Like, I'm doing it on my phone, so it's a little bit different. And let's see, I haven't done a live. Oh, well, that's just me commenting. So I have no idea whether or not anybody's on or not, but if you are, hi, because I can't see the comments or anything. Let me see if I can get in here on my laptop here, and see about where I can go. Oop, sorry about that. I'll mute that in a minute, so it doesn't interfere. And just give me a couple minutes while I see if I'm actually streaming. This is so weird, because it used to be where you could actually see the comments on the phone, and yet it's not showing me that. Oh, I am live. Okay, cool. Yep. Alright, good. Alright, perfect. Alright, since I can't necessarily see anybody on right now, and it's probably because it's Monday at like 4:21 in the afternoon, at least in Eastern Standard Time. But basically, if you're watching this live, it's going to have a little live up there. Little red box that says live. If you're not, you're catching me on the replay, so just do hashtag replay in the comments so that I know that you've seen this, you watched it, whatever. Leave a little comment, see how you liked it, or if it resonates with you. All I really want is to get my experience out there to possibly help you guys out and see where we're going and how you guys are dealing with it too. Alright, so down to the nitty gritty, since I've been like 5 minutes into this already. And that's the other thing. On my phone, it won't tell me how many minutes has elapsed, and the one down here on Facebook will, on the other one. So, anyways, let's see here. Alright, so, and don't mind my nasal passages. There's allergies. I have allergies, so I don't know if it's tree pollen or whatever, so I got that whole little thing. I've had it actually for a long time too, so I'm not sure if that's also part of this whole detoxing of the energies and things. But alright, first things first. The beginning of the month, I found out that, well, at the beginning of April, or was it May? No, it was the beginning of April, we found out my younger brother contracted COVID and ended up in the hospital. Then he kind of got worse, and he got intubated for the ventilator, and just last Wednesday we found out that he, I'm assuming he went into cardiac arrest. I'm not going to show the whole backstory because there's a lot of other stuff going on behind it, but basically he passed on Wednesday. So my brother's coming over today. His funeral is going to be on Friday, this coming Friday, here in New York State, in my town, and it's been a whirlwind. Because we figured his health was deteriorating. He wasn't really taking care of himself, but we figured, he's, 3 years younger than he was 34, I'm 36, so it was kind of like we're like, he'll just eventually figure it out or whatever, not realizing that the younger of the three brothers, me, my older brother, and my older brother, would be the one to pass beforehand. So the leading up to this, and me going in on actually Tuesday to actually see him, because towards this last week we realized, hey, he's not doing well, and it's imminent basically that, if he does get better, he's going to be a vegetable of himself. He's going to have a trach, and he's not going to be who he really was. And stuff like that. So we had to get everybody together on board with what to do, and found out I was POA after the fact, and that was just, whew. But anyways, so I went in there, and I didn't want to, because my late uncle in 2006 ended up catching something and died of what is considered ARDS, which is acute respiratory distress syndrome, which is what my brother just was classified having as first the issue of his death, and then second pneumonia, and then the third was COVID. So he was considered an actual COVID death. So that's just that. But anyways, so my uncle was with all the tubes and everything, and I didn't want to go in and see him. At that time, when I was still in college and I was actually sick, so I couldn't go in and see him, and that was the last time I actually saw him, besides him coming to me in my dreams and things, which I was very blessed for, because that replaced the picture. And so I didn't really want to go in and see Eric, knowing he was intubated and all this stuff and hooked up to all these wires, and then I was having issues here with my ex and things like that, which I'll get into in a minute. And all this other crazy stuff going on. And I'm like, you know what? My brother needs me. Even though the last time I talked to him, he got up in my face and he was very, very, I don't know, angry. He kind of got into his thing because, he didn't like what I had said at the time. I was like, the mailman. It kind of didn't end well, and that kind of stuck with me. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go in. I know this is not good. I know he probably wouldn't want to be hooked up to all these machines. He's probably scared. Nobody was really there because of COVID restrictions. You can't go in and see him. And I know how he is. And his fiance was talking on the phone or whatever, because we were estranged from the fiance, so we didn't really know what was going on there. And he had hernia surgery beforehand. So there was a lot of that going on too. So there was a lot of compounding effects of stuff. So anyways, I went in there to basically pay my last respects and say goodbye. And a lot of what was going on too was I felt drawn to have to do that, because I'm like, you know what, suck it up. It got me out of here and got me not dealing with my ex, because I was at my wit's end with that too. And so it basically, I didn't see his spirit leave his body or anything, because that was kind of the thing. But the weird thing is my father had been going in 3 days prior. So he went 2 days prior. Monday, he went in with my older brother, and then Tuesday, he went in with me, and then Sunday, he went in to view or whatever, or was talking on the phone. I don't know how it went down. Anyways, point being, everybody was coming in when I was in there. Like, we went in, we got a parking spot right away, and I'm like, well, it's because I have Archangel Michael that's with me all the time, and I'm feeling better, and my energy's back up to where it needs to be, where I normally am, because I'm away from the energy of my ex, who was here sleeping on the couch because I felt sorry for his ass, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. And his energy was just compounding mine, and it was just bad. Like, I don't know what's up with that, but I'll explain it in a minute. And this is all going into how I realize my gifts and what I am, well, how I deal with energy and things around me. So we did that. Then we went into the ward where he was, and then all of a sudden the social worker was right there when she's like never there. And she was talking about palliative care and hospice and different things like that. And I was like, okay, my father was just kind of like, okay, this is weird, but whatever. Shrugged it off. Then we go in, and the girl that was waiting on him that day was also named Jen. So at least I had a feeling that he's like, okay, at least he's got Jen there, which means like it's me, so that makes him feel better, kind of. And then after that, we had another lady that was there that was walking around who was talking as well, who was dealing with like the elderly people, and for some reason she was over there for that. And so she was like, yeah, if you need anything, and, I'll look it up and stuff. And so she went to look up who's the proxy and stuff, because the fiance put him on a DNR, which then they had to confirm with me whether or not it was good or not. And I'm like, okay, that's whatever. Then the doctor came in at the same time. We were there about 3 hours, maybe, from beginning to end. And, like, all this transpired within that. And usually my father went in with my older brother, and it was just one person, the doctor, maybe, just to check up on him. Not even there, knowing that we're there, just to do his rounds. And when I'm there, all this stuff's happening. And basically, the doctor was saying, okay, we're going to do this, this, and that, and whatever. And then I was told that I was actually proxy. I was the one that was on the list in the file as proxy. So this whole entire time should have been me making these choices, but at the time, it kind of worked out with divine timing now that I see it, because I was dealing with my ex here, and I just couldn't make logical choices because I was too scared with the energy that he was giving off. And, like, I don't know what it is about his energy, but his energy was just not good. Like, I could see the person he was, but he's definitely got something attached to him, and he means well, but it's what's kicking his ass with life, and what's dragging him down and making it so that he does not make smart life choices. But I'm thinking now that that's what he wrote into his chart. And I was going through it, and I've been dealing with it for the last 5 years, almost 5 years. It was like 4 and 7 months or something. And because I kept pulling myself back in, because I kept being drawn back to that energy, and it kept pulling me back into this weird yo-yo type of a thing, which wasn't good for me, and it was changing who I was. It wasn't like, it was bizarre. Let me tell you, it was super bizarre. And now that I completely, cut ties, I dropped him off at his brother's, whatever, I don't want anything to do with him. I put my family first, because it was actually, he's whatever's attached to him was getting into my head and trying to turn me against myself and my family. It was making it like, I don't know if it was a negative entity or if it's just some weird thing, but then he was all trying to, like, get in my head too, because it wasn't necessarily him trying to do it, it was something that was controlling him. And I've never really had to deal with that. Like, my grandmother was very, a strong-willed person and kind of had her own energy too. But this is kind of a different thing. And what I also learned just recently is those of us who tend to have a healing aura about us, or that naturally just have the healing aura, we tend to bring in other wounded entities and energies and people that they're looking outside of themselves for healing. So of course they just gravitate. And that means that we have to put up boundaries, because we have a natural tendency to try to save everybody, because that's how we feel. That's our natural auto. We're just like, oh, green, healing energy. We want to help people. It's just our automatic. So part of our lesson in life is to learn to put up the boundaries and to be okay with letting people fall and, have not so good lives. Because they have to learn themselves. And another post I saw a couple days ago was also about being on the enlightened path is not explain stuff to other people, but you can't make them do anything. Their enlightenment and their time of enlightenment is when they're ready. Like, you might think they're ready, but they wrote it into their chart, and until that, like, signpost comes up in their life, which could be now, which could be 10 days from now, which could be 10 years from now, which could be at the end of their life completely, like when they're like 100 or 50 or whatever, you're not going to be able to change their mind because it's not written into their chart. They have free will. So as much, like, I kept seeing his soul, like my ex's soul, like, super imparted by where he was, and the fact that he kept making not so good choices when he started to, like, being around my energy, he was better about making good choices, and it's actually kind of hurting my heart a little bit right now. Gotta remember to breathe. This is what's been getting me through a lot of it. But basically, I had to learn that I thought it was all me. I thought it was like, oh, you know, and then the whole manipulation, the guilt trip shit and all that stuff, because it's not that he wanted to do it, it's whatever was controlling him, and actually, like, it was almost as if his soul was, like, very light in his body, and it was kind of, like, hovering, but it wasn't quite in his body, whereas this other thing was kind of controlling him, and he was dealing with cigarettes and alcohol and all this stuff, and he had all this trauma. So I do think that whatever was dealing with him, he had for years, even before I met him. So it's more, it could be, you could call it a curse on his family. You could call it something that he got involved in when he went to, quote unquote, our Gudelberg haunted cemetery here. He is a spiritualist. He has gifts, but I think what happened is someone, when he went to these places with not so good energy, something saw him and latched right onto him because of his energies being so strong. So, and then ever since then, like, and then when I got, you know, involved with him, and then I tried to heal it because I could see, my aura could see there was something that needed to be tweaked, you know, but at the same time, it was just this thing that would, you know, leave him for a little bit because my energy was so strong, and then would come back the moment I wasn't around him, and then cause him to, you know, and then it knew I was threatening because I tried to, you know, ex-nay, oopensnay on the damn thing and send it back to where it came from. But it's like, no, I'm not going to give up that easy. And unfortunately, because he wasn't aware enough about it, because he kept thinking, oh, I got this, and he was okay with it because it was his normal, because he didn't really know anything beyond that, and he's dealt with so much drama and pain and, like, dealing with his family's death, his grandmother, grandfather, you know, mother, father, you know, the whole thing. He's had so much trauma that trauma is what was holding him and latching him, and that's what that thing attached to him wanted to keep happening. So this might, you know, cutting ties off might actually lead him into a spiral too. I don't know. But I learned for my own sanity, I can't do that anymore. And I didn't realize at the time when I was with him that it was me feeling his energy. Because now that he's not even here and stuff, I'm freer. Like, I have my energy back. Things are starting to happen again. Like, I can breathe. Like, when I was here, I was in fear. I was in fear mode of my own life, which was weird because nothing really would have happened, but there was that, and I started gaining more weight in my stomach, which is a big thing because your solar plexus is like, your solar plexus and your root chakra are your safety ones. Your emotional safety and your physical safety. So root chakra is your physical safety, and your sacral chakra, which is the orange one, is your emotional safety. And then it goes up to solar plexus, which is on your belly button, and then your heart, and, you know, on and on. But anyways, the interesting thing too is basically I was just really surprised after I completely made it so that he wasn't even in my town, that I felt a lot better. I'm feeling very much like I did before I met him, and the fact that I'm clearer. Like, I can feel my energy. Like, and I know this is my energy. And I don't want to eat the stuff that I was eating with him, like the stuff that, like, lowers me as much. And, like, I'm feeling more self-led, and I want to do stuff. Like, when I was around him, I didn't feel like doing anything, because his energy was more like being the lazy, compliant one. Being like, whatever, I'm going to sit here and just let life happen, instead of actually taking responsibility for my life. And then when he would take responsibility for his life, because he wouldn't actually go into detox and do the other, because he was too scared of it, He would rather talk about death and like using all that as a mechanism. That he was just like, nope, because that's what the thing that was attaching to him was telling him in his head. Like, to be honest, he seriously needs a complete, either A, exorcism, but we're not Catholic necessarily, so we don't know about that, but you can still get one. Or B, like a complete healing. Like, I tried to do healing on him years ago, too, and he actually had 2 near-death systems, or, 2 near-death, experiences. But I went through it as trying to help him, and then I was reading the energy, not realizing that when I'm doing what I do, I completely resonate with other people's energy. There goes another cop. Ever since this whole thing, there's been constant cops, which goes me back to when, before I even met him, I had the choice between 2 people, or I thought I don't even know. One was a cop and one was him, and I chose him instead, and every single thing that has happened from me starting with him has made my security and my foundations crumbled. The shit that happened with my grandmother, me fighting with her, all the financial issues, all of that happened after I got with him. And now being on the other side of it and seeing the patterns and being humble about it and being like, yeah, I own that. I own that. You know, and I had pushed away my family because he was getting into my head thinking that my family wasn't there, when in reality, the thing was trying to latch onto me too. It was feeding through him, but it was also through him, it was trying to feed and get its fingers into other people. And I was primed because I was so full of light. It was just like a buffet for the thing, whatever it was. So I feel much better. And it's just, the energy's very clear. And it made me realize there are people in this world that are like that. That they have things attached to them, and they have to do it themselves to go and get help. They have to seek it out. They cannot be afraid of doing it, because, like, if you watch, I forgot what it's called now, because I don't watch TV, I don't watch anymore, but it was with Amy and the cop guy. If you're around, I don't know if it's New York State type stuff, but it's also like cable. Dead Files. It was called Dead Files. If you watch the Dead Files, Amy is a spiritualist, and sometimes she goes into these houses, or not a spiritualist, Amy's a spirit, she speaks to the dead. She sees entities, spirits, demons, all whatever you want to call them. Earth, like, old soul, like, tree energies and things like that, whatever. The point is, she's gone to some places where she sat down with the family at the reveal and said, hey, this is in your house, this is what's doing this, you need to get up and leave. Because basically at the end of the show, they tell you whether or not you can heal it and cleanse your house and get, do these steps to, stay in the house. Or 2, it's not even worth it and you're going to die, so you need to leave if you want to live. That's kind of how I see that situation with him. Like, the thing is attached to him and it's just like sucking his life force from him. And it very well could be some kind of generational thing that they've got attached to him. And I've been saying it for a while, but he's like, nah, doesn't really believe it. But I do believe possibly, could be, who knows his history? I don't know his family's history. Like, I know my family's history is Salem. So who knows what happened? Oh, there goes another cop. Who knows what happens when that, back in that day, they could have had a person that didn't like them and did, like, black magic on them or something. Because there is a thing where there is black magic. People do that stuff. Now, granted, like, curses and stuff like that, I don't necessarily believe in them because you can always undo certain things. But in this case, I thought I could undo whatever was wrong with him by my own power, and I can't. And 2, it's not my responsibility because even I was giving him all the opportunities to go to rehab, to do this, and, I'd still wait for you, and this, for 5 years, almost. And, after that, I'm just like, it had to be this long, sadly, for me to get it and click, and I had to lose my grandmother, and now I had to lose my brother, before I realized that this was going to take me down with it if I didn't step back and just stop it completely. And luckily, with the death of my younger brother, it actually helped take me out of that. And I think my younger brother, while he was in the coma for the month, kind of saw what was kind of going on too without us even knowing after the fact, and wanted to save me from myself. Because it's not necessarily that thing's fault, it's my fault for having the free will to keep wanting to go in and help the person, instead of realizing that energy I was feeling was not my own. And I could not fix him no matter what. And I was afraid that if he was still in town because he was homeless and stuff like that, that he would come back here. But that's not the case. Because I, being an empath and learning my energy and things like that, I wanted to save everybody. It really, really hits me hard when I see homeless people, or when I see, and here in New York State it's a little bit different because there goes the cop again. That's really weird. I mean, it's not even the end of the month. Now, oh, here's Andy. Never mind. We don't have a crime area here. It's very, calm and stuff. They must be doing something with traffic, with the road work. And actually the guy that I was, like I said, looking towards or whatever was a cop in my town. So, interesting. And he is actually the one that my younger brother wanted to hook me up with, which is kind of funny. But at the time, he was dating somebody else. So I went with the one who wasn't dating anybody, and it was a wrong choice. Wrong choice, Jen. Wrong choice. And now that guy's got married. He's married and he's got kids now. So I'm like, whatever. But, and what's ironic is 2 days ago I had a dream about him too. And I think my younger brother helped me with that dream and stuff, and helped me get out of my funk, because I woke up from that dream feeling awesome. Feeling like, oh my God. And it jogged me back into myself. Thought that was another cop. So basically, it really, really did help me out. But actually, I'm going to wrap this up because it's going a little bit long here. But anyways, my point is, through all this stuff, and I'm sorry I'm long-winded, it's just me. I had to go through that experience and that situation in order for me to, A, learn my own abilities and the fact that I can connect with people's energy like that, and then 2, to be able to discern when that other person, you give them an option and they don't want to take it the first time around, leave them alone. Don't get involved. Because if they don't want to take the action first, that's up to them. And don't feel like you need to help them out if they don't want to help themselves out. I know it's hard, but there are people that charted their lives in this thing to have really tough things happen to them so they can learn about separation from source and the dualities of this 3D, 4D environment. Okay, that is probably one of the hardest things I've had to come to terms with as somebody who came from the other side with this whole idea that everything's going to be perfect and blissful here like it was over on the other side. And then when I come in here and I see all this stuff that's wrong and all this stuff that I can't do anything about to fix, how the government doesn't support people, how it'd rather have people homeless on the street and things like that. That really hits me hard because as an empath and as a person that wants Lemurian, starseed, things like that, I want everybody to have every opportunity to do everything they want and to take divine action to do that because they are source and they love each other. They're source incarnate. So that is one of these tough decisions that I've had to do and deal with, and I'm still processing, but with my younger brother's death, I'm actually able to process it a lot better. Thank God. And I was actually able to get out and have the strength to get out of that situation. Now, I could just go right back into it if I really choose to right now, and I'm not going to, because I'm that's just, I can see where it was dwindling me down. I have the ability to manifest stuff. I'm a really good manifester. I've done it throughout the years, even before I started dating him. I saved money, I always manifested gifts and, really nice items, things, crystals, all this stuff. I had family, and I still have family now, and then I started going away from that because I got involved with someone who had different mindsets than my soul was saying. Because all of a sudden they get in your head and they start putting one little thing in, and it's over years of time that this gets in your head and starts messing with you. And it's not your fault, okay? Yes, what we do with what we're given is a choice, but it's also free will. And sometimes when we make these choices and we go away from it, doesn't necessarily mean we're always away from it. granted, if those situations are where those people aren't no longer with us and we can't do that, but you are source incarnate, so you can take divine action and not be afraid of what's going to be on the other side, because I don't know what's going to happen. My grandfather, I still have to take care of my grandfather. I still have to I stepped down from my job because all this was happening. It was too much on me. So I have to find another means of getting information or getting aid back in and monetary value, and all that stuff, which I'm working on my online businesses, my 2 online businesses. And then, I'm trying to put all the pieces back together and have the foundation again. And I know I got this, but at the same time, your human, quote unquote, lizard, caveman brain is hardwired to realize that basically you're in dire need and you can't do anything when your soul is sitting there going, dude, you got this. But your soul is not really pushing forward. That's that. Anytime you get that drive, that's your carnal, like old school caveman intuition, or drive. So basically, there's a lot that has to be processed, but these are all, you can't just like all of a sudden be like bam, and then all of a sudden it's gonna, if I was told way back then that, and I was told by all my family members because they could see what was going on and I couldn't because I was too deep in, because I had taken on his energy. Because I didn't even know what my own gifts were. I didn't realize what I was doing without my own knowledge. Like, I didn't realize that his energy I was taking on and feeling it and thinking it was my own. And that's why I was feeling like I needed to separate from the constriction of my grandparents, the constriction of my family, trying to be off on my own and all this stuff, not realizing that that was his energy and it wasn't mine. Because the whole entire time I've been living through life, I've been connecting with everybody else's energy and not my own. Now that I'm kind of pretty much by myself, I can feel my own energy, resonate with my own energy a little bit more, and figure out, oh, okay, this feels like this. This is my home energy, my home, my soul, the seat of the soul. That's backwards. So a lot of that too. Like when I was younger, I used to enjoy having a lot of fun. With my younger brother. And I thought that was just us having fun. But I now realize that it was me reading into his energy. His energy was always that of like having fun, enjoying stuff, music and things like that. And then my grandmother was always like, you have to find a job, you have to do this. And so that was all that, I have to do this. And I feel put upon for all that stuff because she was putting everything on me, put upon. So I was feeling that, thinking that was my own, but it wasn't. And then with my ex, that was all that, oh, you don't need that, whatever, just, laze around and things will happen, and if they don't, screw it, nobody cares, and you'll be fine, or whatever. And then it just kept getting worse and worse. Until now, when I was actually able to break from that. And then he actually, his death, my younger brother's death, actually brought my family together, too, which was, I always say it's like he became a martyr for my family. Because we were all kind of splintering off in different directions. Of course, we're adults and we have our own lives. But it was actually very, very interesting. And life for me was getting a lot harder because I was connected to that lower vibrational energy. Thinking it was my own, but it wasn't. And at that point, I don't think I was strong enough to see it and to be able to do it on my own. Like, yes, back in November, I had to call the cops on him, my ex, and do that. And that actually did help me realize that I am in control of my life, regardless. But I knew I was making the wrong decision when I felt sorry for him and I brought him back in and it went against my older brother's wishes. That's when I knew something was wrong. When I had to pin my ex, my ex, against my brother and my family. That's when you're like, and then you get that like sick feeling where you can't eat, you don't feel like, you can't sleep, you're up all night, you're thinking about things, and you're all in that fear zone. That's when you realize you're completely severed from your divine alignment. And that's what you need to go. You need to get back into your divine alignment. So you need to start doing stuff that'll get you back into the thing and click together again. Now, I did that, and I cut him off, and all of a sudden, my family came together. My dad started hugging me, and he's the one that freaking abused us when we were kids, and I was, like, blown out of the water for that healing. I was like, holy crap. And all this stuff. And actually, my stepmom I'm gonna call her later on tonight. She's gonna go and help me at some point this week go and get clothes for the funeral and the service, because all my other stuff is out, in which I never thought they'd be able to support me that way. My older brother, at one point when I was with my ex, threatened to have me live in my car, and that time when I heard that, I was just all defensive, because I was aligning myself with my ex's energy, and it just wasn't, like, I'm like, how dare you, and all this stuff, and he got in my head saying that, he's, abandoning you, when in fact I was abandoning my own family. It wasn't that they were abandoning me. I was choosing to go with my ex and abandon my own family. My own family was there, but I couldn't see it, because my ex and whatever was attached to my ex had manipulated it and twisted it in my head so that my ego was in control and not my soul and my heart and my spirit. So that's the thing we got to get past. We got to be able to break it down, know when it's right for us. And when it's right for us, we're going to feel happy. We're going to feel elated. We might have those, like, when you're in a new relationship, you get those butterflies, those exciting butterflies, and you're like, yes, that kind of a fear. It's not a bad fear. It's a good fear. Because there are two different types of fear. That kind of stuff. You want to work with that, because that'll keep you in alignment with what's positive, and it will bring your soul center, aka your universe within you, so within, so without, as above, as below. That will bring it back towards you. But if you deviate from that and you start doing things, like, because I started put upon, because with his energy, I felt like I had to do this for Grandpa, and he's having this issue. Now, all those things that were issues are not issues now. Like, it is bizarre, like, and it is amazing. That stuff that I had fears about, it's gone. My grandpa doesn't have poopy butt anymore. I don't have to worry about doing, like, dirty diapers and stuff like that with a grown man now. It's because that energy is no longer in the house, and I think it also, ironically, was probably affecting my grandfather without him knowing, because everything's energy. And I didn't realize that, but... I thought my brother, because he's not spiritualist, didn't really know about this, but I think my older brother subconsciously knew about it too. But anyway, so there's a lot of this stuff that's been happening with me. I'm learning that I'm very sensitive to energy. I can hear conversations that are out, like, kind of, it was making me go crazy. I don't hear it as much now, which is interesting, but when, right towards the end, before I cut and severed the tie with my ex, I could hear, like, distant conversations of, like, women talking. And it was almost as if either it was, like, a group of people having a meeting in my house, which could have been very much my own spiritual group, like, trying to communicate, because they can't intercede in trying to get the damn thing off of, my ex, and then trying to cut it for me, because every night I do the whole cut the ties, whatever. And 2, I did a ritual. Here's another thing, guys. If you have somebody in your life that is trying to control you and make your life miserable, here's a tip. Write their name down on a piece of paper and freeze it in your freezer. Now, I don't exactly know the specifics, but that's what I did, and I put it, and I feel better. Like, that energy is stopped. My next door neighbor did it on behest of a... advice of our medium friend, who we used to go to tandem mediumship circles with. But basically it works. Like, she did it with her ex-husband, who was giving her all sorts of trouble. Once she did that, and then she also got a statue of Archangel Michael standing on the serpent. And ironically, we went over to her house, and the statue that she got, instead of the serpent, it was like a human, because sometimes it's the fallen angel, aka Satan. But the statue one that she got, the specific version she got, looked like her ex-husband, like Archangel Michael stepping on her ex-husband's head. It was so bizarre, I'm telling you, this is weird. But anyways, she did that and put it in her freezer, and it stopped. I did this with his name. Well, first of all, I wrote a release letter. Like, I wrote it down, I forgive you, so-and-so, at my ex, for, all the crap you did, and basically you release that energy, because you don't want that energy staying with you. You want to release it, because if it stays with you, you can't really move on and get more abundance. You got to release that energy, that stagnant energy. I said my piece, sent off. You don't necessarily have to send love and light if it's too much for you. You can just say, you don't necessarily have to forgive either, really, because sometimes it's a little bit hard to make that jump, but eventually you're going to basically want to clear your own energy out, because you don't want that stagnant energy. hanging in there, and then they're kind of like, I still have control over you, type of a thing. You know, that way you can sever the tie, move on. But basically when you get to that point where you feel safe enough to do that, it will do mountains for you. Like, it will work so good for you. But you have to be willing to release. You can't just do like what my mentor Joanna Hunter says is lip service. You can't write it down and not really mean it. Because that's not really going to do anything, because you're sending it out to the universe, and the universe is saying, well, okay, you're writing this down, but you don't really mean it, so what am I going to do? I'm going to mimic what you're doing, so I'll say that I'm going to give it to you, but I'm not really going to give it to you because you don't honor yourself enough to actually want to release it and move on from this. It's kind of like when a little kid's having a temper tantrum, and then finally they realize that the temper tantrums aren't going to get them anywhere, so then they stop doing them, and they grow up. Type of thing. It's that growing and being able to learn how to navigate this world of duality and interesting choices and things. So anyways, I know this is going on like way too long. It's almost an hour long, and I'm so sorry, guys, but there's a lot I had to get out. But anyways, freeze the name. I was going to do this whole entire thing about, like, you do not have more power over me or whatever, but then I realized if I'm going to put me in and lump me in with that and then put it in the freezer, that will freeze me too. So I'll just put his name, or whoever else's name that's giving you trouble, I'm talking too fast, and fold it up and put it in your freezer. Not entirely sure. I didn't put it in a baggie or anything. I just put the piece of paper in the freezer so that actually the ink gets frozen, because with that ink, you're actually, I don't know why that went weird on that, but your thing is actually definitely, frozen. So it's just doing that. And then basically you can have it in there for as long as you want. And then you can also, if you don't have it there, you can redo it also. So if you find it and the paper's all kind of corroded and broken down or whatever, you can redo it for as long as that person is in physical form on this earth. Or as long as you're dealing with that person. Now, eventually, over time, sorry, there's like a lot of stuff going on. That person probably will move on to the next person, because if it's a negative energy or something's attached to that person that's negative, they will want to seek energy from something else. So if they know they can't seek energy from you anymore, they will move on to the next quote-unquote target, okay? So you don't necessarily have to do it for the rest of your life, but if you feel more safe and more comfortable keeping in there for the rest of your life, or for the rest of their life or whatever, go right ahead. It's not going to hurt anybody. It's not going to hurt you or whatever. It just freezes their actions against you from whatever. So this is also interesting little side things that you kind of can do. When I did the release letter, I wrote the release letter, and then I folded it up, and when I folded it up, mind you, I folded it away from me. So if you're having it in the piece of paper, you fold it towards the other side, then you turn it and you fold it out, okay? Because if you're folding it in, that's keeping it in here, and you don't want to keep it in here. If you're releasing it, you want it to go out. If you're writing a letter about love and bringing back love into your life, then you fold it towards you, okay? These are all these actions and things that we have to learn. Back in the day, these were the things that we've forgotten now because of modern day, but back in the day with the ancients, they knew all these different things. So basically, that's what you can do. And then what I did is I put it in a pan, fireproof pan, kitchen pan, and then I lit it on fire, and I had it outside because it was going to be smoky, because paper gets very smoky. Or if you have a bonfire, that's even better. You can put it in the bonfire. I know my friend Jen Feline does Festa powder to make it kind of pretty and stuff too. But, hey Becca, I'm going to get off soon so you can catch the replay, but, basically, after you do that, you put it in there, and it's going to be smoking if you're going to be burning the paper for the release, because you want to burn it up with the flame, the holy flame of fire. Like, fire is a release. Like, it's the soul seed, is fire release. So basically, use the element of fire to release all that into the ether, into the world. So I did it out in my backyard, and make sure that there's no other, like, highly flammable things around you, because we don't want to start any forest fires or anything, mind you. And I brought a cup of water out too, just in case, because you never know when the wind's gonna go. But I had it in my kitchen pan, and I had it out in my bird bath, just in case. And I had it, and I lit it on fire with my grill lighter, And then it kept doing it, and it kind of, because it was folded in quarters, it kind of just had a little bit left on the thing that had still writing, and I burned it all down to ash, so there's no actual written words that you could even do anything. And then, when there was still the little ash that wasn't, I kind of shook it like this around so that it would go further out. You know, and I just shook it, so that the ash would just keep going. As if I'm, like, releasing, and as I was doing it, I was releasing. And I kept saying, you know, love and light, go in peace, type of a thing. So that's what I did. I did it because it made me feel better, and I actually, when I was little, I kind of used to do little things like that, before society decided to foo-foo that, and everybody's like, you're wasting your time, let's go do this instead. So I was like, okay. But then, like, now coming back to it, it makes sense. Because after I did that, I kind of felt a lot better. And then after that, I took his name and froze it and put it in the refrigerator. In the freezer. You know, freezer. What you can do, too, if you want. Well, I was going to say you can put it in your ice box. Like, you can put it in an ice cube, make an ice cube out of it. But then that will make the ink bleed. And there's not a definitive name. So I don't know if that would work. Because the ink bleeding out the name kind of doesn't keep the name, so I don't know if that would work, but basically I'd have to look it up and confirm with my spiritual friend how it did. But right now, with just the name on a little slip of paper folded away from you and then put into the freezer box in the back, frozen, I feel good. I actually feel safe again, and I feel like I'm in control again, and it is one of the best feelings ever, especially getting out of a narcissistic psychopath type of a mentality. Now, granted, like I said, he wasn't necessarily that when he first was born and stuff, because he had his gifts. He could see spirit and stuff like that too, and he could hear spirit. So I think whatever is attached to him, like, loves the fact that he's got that energy there. So it's just constantly staying with him, which until he actually completely wants to stop the avenues for it to come in, which is the drinking and the smoking and all those negative vibe patterns and crutches that he's got to deal with his pain. He's got a lot of pain too that he's keeping in, and that's fueling whatever's attached to him. So if you guys have a lot of pain and stuff you're not dealing with, the best advice I can give you is seriously start to chip away at that. Okay, because the more that you chip away with that and heal yourself, the more you can let light in, and the more you can release all the other stuff, and the more stuff will happen better to you. Okay? It's just like when you're healing, the universe can heal you. Okay? But you got to go in time, and you got to do it first, because you are in this dimension in a physical form first. Then that universe has to come in here and connect to you to help you out. So you have to start it first so that it can match up with you. It's like one of the weirdest, hardest things, but it's not really the hardest thing to do, to get a hang of. It's just like riding a bike. Once you get it and you get it down, you can do it a lot more, and you can do it a lot faster and a lot easier. It's just trying to get the habit going and keep with it, especially when you're thrown into a crazy, chaotic situation, and keeping the faith. But anyways, I'm going to get going because it's now 5:04. And I'm not sure if my brother is going to be coming now or in an hour. And I gotta figure out what I'm gonna give Grant for dinner. So, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Like I said, this is live right now, but more than likely you're all gonna catch it on the replay. Type in #replay. If there's anything I can help you with, I'm here to explain how I deal with life and stuff. I know this group has kind of got a lot of people that aren't really participating. You know, I don't even know if the notifications are up for them to get anything. So I just kind of want to get this group back up and going. I know Facebook's got issues, and people are trying to get away from Facebook as much, but I just don't want that to be a deterrent to you guys if I can help you, you know, deal with some stuff. I do try to keep this group as upbeat as I can. That's why I'm talking about this in more of an upbeat way, and that's why I didn't come on when all that stuff was happening, because having voice to the negative stuff gives it more life, and I didn't want to do that either, you know. So, you know, bringing up and celebrating everybody, and I love the questions and you know, about the dreams and things like that, or the certain situations. I am always here to voice what I am getting through spirit and things. It's not necessarily what you have to advise or whatever. Everybody take with it what you want or what you feel resonates with you, because everybody's gonna be different. We're all on different paths. but I just really love the fact that we're all talking and doing things like this. And I figured going in here live might actually get people to be like, oh, it's more active right now. So that's what I'm doing. This is going to be a crazy week. Friday, like I said, I have to go to the service, and there's going to be a couple other different things going on. And I'm reading my nice new book, Rich as, to bring in more money abundance. I'm going and doing a lot of tests, and I'm actually, not tests, I'm doing a lot of classes about being divinely led and being your own, I forgot what it is, hold on a second. Your own rescue. That's what it is. Being your own rescue. And then this is another book that I got, which is really cool, by my mentor, Johanna Hunter. So that's really, really good. Get Selfish. Learning about, especially for people who are empaths, to be able to put yourself first and put up those boundaries for those people that will drain you. Because, like I said, there will be people out there that will drain you. And there are people that have charted lives in lack and suffering. I mean, we don't necessarily, as spiritualists and stuff, we don't really like to see people suffering, but it is not up to us what they charted. We don't know. Maybe they charted that for them to get to the rock bottom, to learn about how it feels to get at it. Because maybe in the previous life they were millionaires and stuff, and just they caused more drama and trouble to the people that were below them. So maybe they're charted this life to be on the other end of that, to realize how that affects and how that those rich people were doing it to them. That's what I always like to think about my ex. The fact that probably in another life he ended up being a multi-billionaire or whatever, and snubbed his nose at everybody and pushed everybody down to his own, glorification, and now he's living this life having to be the foot stool or whatever for a bunch of other people and stuff. Which just means that different people are on different paths. The more of us that have had more lives kind of culminate all those lessons, so we don't necessarily have to come back for that. But the younger souls, the ones that haven't incarnated as much on this earth plane throughout the eons, tend to take the other more definitive lessons as of lack, financial difficulty, all the 5 fears, like your lack of food, lack of water, lack of shelter, lack of heat, lack of tribe. Those 5 primeval caveman necessities. Those ones are the ones that usually people who are younger, or entities, spirits, us incarnate, come in first to learn those basic ones, and then they work on the harder ones left. It's like taking classes and being like, okay, you don't start at a algebraic engineering degree before you take your basic math. I mean, you're not going to know what all the symbols and things mean, and you're going to be floundering, you're going to be whatever. You got to take the first ones first and then grow that way. And a lot of people too, they chart a lot of what I've been doing this last time is I've also been asking people, like Spirit and my spirit guide and my council, to change my chart. Because I have the free will to ask them to change it. And as long as I ask them to change it and make it easier for me, they will. They can go up and be like, okay, as long as it does not counter with whatever you wrote as your main lesson in this incarnation, we're good. They can swap it out. They can modify it. They can do whatever they want. Because there was a couple tough days there where I'm like, if I keep going like this, I'm not going to be here to help other people out. And I want to be here to help other people out. I'm like, I've learned enough about this type of a thing that I'm okay going on and not having that constantly come up in my life now. But you also have to take divine action and take the responsibility of doing something about the situation, like I did. Cut completely out. Cut the ex out. Do not feel sorry for him. Do not do anything. Whatever. Move on. And that's what I'm doing. And that's a lesson of self-worth that I need to learn. And that's what I'm learning now. Is confidence and self-worth. That's why this thing also had to happen. And being able to see the other side of it, where you're like, hey, okay, this is happening. This is the lesson I need to do. And actually journaling about it so that you can get it out and realize, hey, this is the lesson. Because when you just speak it necessarily, it doesn't necessarily mean you're actually integrating it into both hemispheres of the brain, the subconscious and the conscious. But when you write it, because it's writing and pen on paper and things like that, you're internalizing it both consciously and subconsciously. It's like when you have to study for school and stuff, you usually have to do the memory cards and things like that, and you write. That's why they have homework where you write it out and you write papers and things, because your brain's more apt to receive it and to integrate it. Instead of just something that someone says. It's like the telephone game when someone says something and it goes back around, you don't really retain it. But if you write it down and then you also hear it, then you got those both things going around. So anyways, like I said, that's a lot of information for a lot of you guys to take in. I know I haven't been on here in a while, but this is all kind of going on, and I'm excited to share with you the next steps of my own journey and where it's going to take me. All right, guys. Love, light, and blessings. Thank you for joining me. And like I said, if you have any questions or anything, I will be on here as much as I can. And I'm being transparent. That's the best way to do everything. Life is not all about rainbows and being spiritual and being like, oh, just forgive everybody and da-da-da-da. I get it. We're all human. We all have our human counterparts. So I just wanted to come on here and be like, it's okay. I see you. I hear you. I understand. This is a safe place. I am a safe place to talk to. I mean, and it's a private group, so nobody else, in your family or whoever's not going to find it. So, all right. Thank you for watching. Love, light, and blessings, everybody. It is now 5:12, and I've been jabbering on too long, but I figured it's better for me just to shoot from the hip than to write something down, and this all just kind of flows through. Today was not necessarily like spirit coming through, because I have to align myself with Dad again, because with being with him, my ex, it just kind of jostled me off of the kilter, so I have to kind of go back here and I have to do more meditation and realign myself, and then I'll get more downloads in, which is what I'm doing. And then it doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you anything. I mean, this is our path. We're learning. The earth is ascending like hardcore. There are so many people leaving right now, and so many people, and I keep having like this itch because I was outside with the weeds, and now I'm all like itchy. So don't mind all this, stuff. And there's a lot of different things going on. There's a lot of world things going on as well. So the earth is purging a lot of things. It's purging old stuff. It's purging outdated, information, outdated policies, plans, habits, culture type things, everything that basically was tying us down before. And we're getting back to the time of Lemuria and the other side and unity and things like that. But you gotta look, it's gotta all break down and become chaos and the dark night of the soul before you can come back out of that and rebuild into a better, division type of a thing. So this is all preordained. All the crap that we're seeing, all the stuff that's unfolding, all the stuff that's happening now, all the breakdowns, all the people leaving, all the people coming out that you thought were your friends and they're freaking coming at you, that you were like, well, you're not really my friend if you're acting that way, type of a thing. That's meant to happen. I mean, we're all becoming true to ourselves now. And we're not doing those whole false flags and things like that where we're like, okay, I'm just going to be nice. And that's what I've been learning too. Because I was placating myself. Because I didn't want to be honest with myself. And then when we're not honest with ourselves, we misalign. So anyways, I'm going to get going now since it's 5:14. So, love, light, and blessings. Like I said, everybody. Thank you for watching, and I will be here in a little bit again, I think, in the next week. I'll update you with what's going on. All right. Thank you. Love, light, and blessings. Stay safe, everybody. I'm here for you. You've got this. We're light workers, way showers, and we've got this. All right. Be blessed. You're on the first step to the new ascension of the new earth. All right. This is crazy. This is amazing. Nobody's ever transversed this before. It is our time now. All right. Blessings. Love, light, and blessings. Bye-bye.